Hey addicts, welcome back to another Danmachi video. This time we got a little bit of a newer discussion. It's not so much, a fun discussion. It's talking serious talk about if these books are worth it.
Hopefully then it's not 40 minutes long.
Yeah, we'll try to keep it short for you guys. So the main question at hand is the side story for Lyu worth it, or does it add anything overall? So we're going to talk about that. At the time of this recording, we haven't read the very last volume, but I mean, at this point, we're over halfway and we know basically what's going to happen. So, we are going to have that video. That video will probably be out before this one anyway. But yeah, Michael, what are your honest impressions of this series, and if you think
it's worth it? So I think it breaks down in several categories. If you've just seen the anime, I think it has a lot of additional material that's good, prepping you for season 3 and season 4, mainly season 4 with Lyu. But for those who are caught up with the books, I think it's something that some of the information is good. Like, you have some applicable backstory that is cool to know about. Like, more about, the lady who was an assassin and the lady who was a bounty hunter, whatever. Right. So you get, like, their backstory, which is kind of cool, moving forward and looking at other Danmachi material. You can, value them more as characters, certainly. But besides that, I really didn't feel that it was super necessary, but I did like how it connected, which we talked about in, I think, the latest video. It connected Belle's moment in volume 14 to that moment where Seer saves Lyu. Right. How, like, that is a moment where she changes as a person, and then Belle changes her later on. So, like, that was good to see, but it's, especially for, like, the price and how it's divided up, I think it's definitely something that we can discuss and talk more about there.
So, see, my main thing is that when somebody tells me they're going to have a side story or a spin-off series or whatever, and it's going to be about an existing character that already exists.
Sword Art Ontario.
Yeah. I see that as it needs to accomplish a couple things. It needs to accomplish, having a story that's being told that is interesting, that this character can hold their own in. And it also needs to have some added depth to that character. We need to see more of that character. And in this series, I really think that the focus is not on Lyu for the most part. It's at the beginning, it kind of starts off as that, where we get to see more of Lyu, but it's her mostly just doing things in the present that doesn't really, I don't want to say have that much impact on her. I mean, it does to an extent, but, not really something substantial. And then, kind of in the middle, and we're seeing at the later part, it's not even focusing on her, which, again, I agree. There is some characters that, it's nice to see, little bits of info that we didn't know about them before, or just, making them kind of have more of a moment to even, I guess, have a fan base behind them. But for a series that is supposed to, I mean, it's literally in her name's in the title, right? It's kind of sad that we just don't have a book that focuses on her. And I think there is some standouts, like the one that you said, like, I think it's like maybe the 5th volume. That one has some really good connections to, novel readers will understand. Volume 3 is probably the biggest standout for me, just because we get to see Lyu the most in that one. I like the bits that we get at the Benevolent Interest, her, getting introduced there. But it's really, to me, I think it would have been really nice to see maybe the story focus more on her battle with the evils, like her taking revenge on the evils. I know it's like a very dark period of time, so her character is very different during that section of the story, but I think that may have been a better direction to go in, because I mean, in volume 14 we see what happens to her actual familia, so we don't really need to see that in the side story, since it's done pretty much well enough. But I just feel like the direction was a little off, to me at least.
Yeah, I think it's hard because she was a very established character if you're, like, updated in the books, and I obviously enjoy the character a lot. So I feel like it was hard for them to showcase new elements that, being true to what she is now. And I think something that, why I'm so excited for the Freya Familia backstory if we ever get it in English, is because those are characters that I'm hyped about, but we know nothing about like backstory wise.
So
like,
any info would be something that we don't know.
like we pretty much knew, because I think Volume 3 is where, or Volume 3, Volume 4, where it starts going to the back flashback prequels basically. So we pretty much know like the how events happen, you know, based on what we've seen in season 1 and season 3, etc., etc. So it's hard to be exciting when you know like where things are going to go.
Yeah. I think also, I mean, you can correct me if you feel differently, but I feel like in what they decide to tell with her getting into the benevolent interest and stuff like that, that's not to say that couldn't have been interesting. It just seems like there wasn't, it wasn't as in depth as her character is, you know, like the actual story and like how it happened seemed a little bit more, I don't want to say cliche, but it just seems a little bit more generic in terms of like, oh, you know, like they rescued her. There was nothing more that kept her there besides, you know, just some funny stuff, which I like the funny stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It just, Lyu's like one of the most, I think, complicated characters in Danmachi, probably outside of like Hestia's Familia. So it's just really, I guess, disappointing to see a story not really go much more in depth. I would have really liked to seen, you know, maybe tackle more on, you know, her thoughts on her old Familia, or, you know, her, you know, struggling with, you know, I guess revenge and justice, you know. I think they touch on that in elements. It's just not enough to really make the series worth it. I would say, you know, to me, I think it was like 3, 4, and 5. Those ones are like the ones I would say are the most standout. I don't think the first 2 are really necessary, you know.
Casino
like,
meta.
Well, like, because like Volume 3 is like the end of the casino, but I think that's just like the most exciting volume in terms of like action, if you like that, and you get to see Belle and stuff, so that's cute, you know. But I don't know, overall, like if you were deciding on buying these volumes and you didn't necessarily have like a budget just to throw it for the whole side story, I would say just pick those 3 volumes if you really like this character, if you want to see a little bit of insight to how they connect. But I don't know if necessarily if I'd be like, oh dude, you gotta read all of these.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. I think I pretty much agree with Josh. Another way to say it is, you know, wait for a sale. If you can get these cheap, then, you know, I obviously am all for supporting the author, and I think he's doing well enough because he's gotten a lot of, I mean, his material's great, but so it's all deserving, but he has, you know, a lot of projects as far as anime and everything. But yeah, I think it's something that's non-essential. Obviously we read this and we still are not reading Sword Art Turio, so I mean it's a little bit more up there for us,
which
but it is something you could wait for.
Which, you know, some of the criticisms that we mentioned, they are sort of, I don't want to say they're justified, but they make a little bit more sense just because knowing what the author wanted out of this series. This is like a limited series that he just meant to be like, you know, like, hey, this is just like letting you know this is exactly what happened or exactly what led up to this. It's not so much like Sword Art Turio where, you know, he's taking these characters and they're doing stuff, like new stuff that we're not going to see anywhere else, you know? So, I guess that's part of it.
Moral of the story, I'm excited for Freya. Amelia, I want to see if, like, she really just likes Belle because, you know, he's got white hair and he was running. Or if there's, like, another, you know, backstory, or is she, like, does she have a bigger purpose for Belle? So I really want to see that, and obviously I want to see how Otter's doing. And then just see more of the Familia. I mean, you have the other guy.
Oh, yeah, Alan.
Alan, like who's a great character as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I guess it'll be more brutal.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much more things they can do with Freya. I don't know if we'll, like, if that one's to do with anything of this one in terms of, you know, there being correlation with how it's mapped out. I guess we should suspect that it's like going to be set in the same timeline or story time as the original Danmachi universe, but it's not going to be probably set before because to make it less complicated, it's not going to be set before Belle entered the story.
Probably not. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, like, if this is not topic of video, but if like Freya like knows more, like, you know, they've been scheming all along, and they know more about the dungeon, and they know about Xenos, and they've just been keeping it all to themselves. So it'd be interesting to see.
It sounds like we need to make another video
Yes.
talking about
but
that.
But yeah, for this one, wait for it if it's on sale. If you really love the character, then you can go ahead and buy it. I mean, you're not going to be disappointed if you love her, but
maybe a little bit if you don't see her that much. But you know,
yeah. But yeah,
I think if you love all of the characters surrounding the Benevolent Mistress, this is definitely one that you'll like, or at least you might find it a little bit more worth it. If you're just like Lyu, I would say, you know, think real long and hard before you spend money. I would say, you know, if you really want to get all of them, just buy it digitally, because I don't think this is one that you necessarily want to or need to collect.
Yeah, I think
you
so.
know. But that being said, we're gonna get out of here because we'll make this short video. So we'll see you guys for the next Danmachi video. Peace.
Danmachi forever.